Hello, I'm Lorraine Nowlin, and I facilitate the Black Women's Caucus of the U.S. chapter of Women's Declaration International. I have no doubt you've heard proponents of gender identity ideology distort Black history and the Black experience in general to garner sympathy for their cause. One would think that such racist insensitivity would be unthinkable or off limits to most of us. Fortunately, historians like A'Ja Lyons are ready to counter such racism.
Now, as a historian, done some research, women and children were horribly affected. Men were murdered, but the women, so many miscarriages, so many lost babies, so many babies that were sick, so many babies that died because of the gross trauma of the Greenwood race massacre. And now, when I hear Black women now referred to as Black birthing bodies by people that call themselves progressive, by people that say they're anti-racist, it's monstrous and it is a lie.
She's a mother, PhD student at Oklahoma State University, writer, and a fierce advocate for Black women. A'Ja, thank you so much for joining us and clearing up these distortions. And I know that's what we're about to do. Absolutely. Okay, before we get into all of that, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to women-centered activism and how you came to the conclusions you did about gender identity ideology?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited for today. I will say that I grew up in Houston, big international city, strong business women. I was raised by a Black single mother who was raised by a Black single mother, who was raised by a Black single mother. And so centering women has always been my life. And so when I became an adolescent, I started going to the Houston Women's Group. I believe they're even still meeting, and they've been meeting for 30, 40 years. Yeah. And many of those women from the original group of ladies still meet on a Unitarian fellowship on Sunday mornings. And so just having a podium with women would talk about what was going on politically, creatively, in the community. And those women were just so welcoming and supportive and, like aunts, and which is how sisterhood should be, how, women should be in community with each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you give us some examples of how gender identity ideologues distort Black history for their own selfish gain?
Well, first of all, this movement, as I believe Helen Joyce has stated, is a linguistics movement. And so there's a lot of wordplay, a lot of rhetoric for certain emotional appeals. So one thing we hear is, or that is stated, is trans women are women just like Black women are women. It's like, a trans woman is a man. A Black woman is not a man.
Right.
However, I think what they're appealing to is that Black women have not been perceived by society, by the media, the same way that white women, who are seen as the ultimate ideal echelon of femininity, are seen as a standard for womanhood. Well, femininity and womanhood are two separate categories.
Yes.
So if someone, whether a man or a woman, wants to embody aspects of femininity and those ideals, that's completely up to them. But a woman, as we know, is an adult female human.
Yes.
And so the qualifier of Black is regards to race, heritage, culture, genotype, phenotype, that which, embodies race, genotype, phenotype, culture, that has nothing to do with cross-dressing.
Wow. It's such a shame that that's being used. And it's such a shame that people, many of whom on the left, do not call that out.
Terrified. Yeah. They're so terrified.
It is. Do people ever use your Blackness to try to guilt you into supporting this ideology?
Inadvertently, certain friends with certain social media posts. I don't think anyone's so brave enough to say this to my face. However, I have been, shunned, ostracized, kind of left out of certain spaces, opportunities, and such, because I don't play into the pronoun games and such.
Wow.
So I do think there is this aspect or this expectation that because I'm Black, I should be on the left and I should have all these same beliefs and values. That's not the case.
Wow. Wow. Well, have you ever had friendships end over this issue, over your beliefs regarding this issue, your facts, I should say, over this issue?
Because I don't engage in 1984 newspeak because, I'm not with the program, this very, very scary program. Unfortunately, I did lose a friend of nearly 10 years. I was very close with her child. She was close with my child. We'd been in each other's homes. I mean, this was sister friend. And yeah, she pretty much just ended the relationship because she said that I was my social media posts were transphobic.
Oh my goodness.
I post about Kira Bell.
Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, we know a lot about Kiara Bell. I believe she was the young biracial woman. Can you tell us a little bit more about that post and what happened?
It was simply a post about Tavistock, and I think in the article, there was a video of Kira Bell speaking about her situation, what happened to her, how she was allowed to medicalize and masculinize when she was still a teenager.
Yes.
And she, young woman in her 20s starting to speak out about this and about the harm that gender ideology causes, particularly for children who are young, confused, or just gay. I mean, even though there's this sort of, bell curve. I think so many people want to be progressive, want to be on the right side of history, want, fairness and equality for people, that we're sort of having this curve now where, in the 1950s, we had these stereotypes of masculinity, femininity, performance, and how gay was not okay. And I think a lot of people back then thought if you were a woman that wanted to be with another woman, you had to pretend to be a man or act like a man. And now we're having this again.
Yes. Yes, we are. And it's a shame. And it could be, they could be from religious families. It's like this new way to like a new form of conversion therapy. That's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much what it is.
Exactly what it is.
It's really, really a shame. And anyone, if you can look up Kiara Bell stories, I strongly recommend you do that. Very, very sad story. Very, very sad story. Do you ever worry that your views might be held against you concerning your academic career?
I am, because I have been banned from 3 literary journals and magazines because my Twitter posts were deemed transphobic. And again, I was speaking out against the harm that's occurring to children. I think we should care about all people, but we should definitely stand together for the children, and children are getting hurt in the name of this ideology. And I hope they just have mercy when everybody wakes up and everyone realizes what's been done to children. I think so many adults will beg for mercy, and the children may not have it to give.
Wow.
But so yes, I posted about certain politicians that were fighting for children or fighting for the age to medically transition, to medicalize oneself, to engage in cross-sex stereotypes, to be raised to 18 in certain states. Doesn't sound to me. Sounds like adequate safeguarding, or at least a step towards safeguarding. And that was deemed transphobic by certain editors, and they banned me. My peers in the department where I am, many just do not speak to me. Some will only be cordial. And I've gotten flat out ugly looks, like just staring me down by those who identify with the opposite sex or choose to act out opposite sex stereotypes. And their supporters. Even though I've never been unkind to anyone, I don't call anyone mean names. You tell me your name is Jane or Joe, that's what I'm going to call you. No, I don't do the whole pronoun thing, especially if I'm speaking to you, then I'm going to address you as you in the second person address. But I post very publicly on multiple platforms about the harm gender ideology causes to children, women in prisons.
Yes.
The most vulnerable in the world. And so, and in sports, there's really no more women's sports in the United States of America at this point.
Wow. And it's like one thing that that movement has succeeded in doing is completely demonizing women and even some men with opinions or facts such as ours. I am hearing of more of a witch hunt for people who speak our facts than I am for against people who speak out, you know, or who harbor anti-Blackness and present anti-Blackness. um that just has to be countered.
It is astounding. I will say that
Mhm,
I am in a red state. I'm at a big ag school, conservative
mhm.
university. I'm not too concerned. I do think free speech, and I don't
Right,
engage in hate speech. I don't want anybody to be harmed. I don't want any violence. I will
right,
never ever call for that. I'm just about protecting people, keeping people safe.
exactly.
And so I think particularly as we're seeing the CAS review and WCAS
Mhm.
reports and files coming out, I think the tide will eventually shift, and
Yes.
people will just pretend they never shunned me.
Mhm. The thing, yeah, once they realize the error of their ways. Speaking of that, are there any racial differences in the support you get? For example, do you get more support from Black people, more from white people, or less? Like, can you speak a little on that?
I honestly feel that I mostly get support from white people, and I think it's because Black people are either wholeheartedly about gender ideology and rights for these
Mm,
people that are supposedly so oppressed,
mhm.
um, or they're just totally oblivious to what's going on in the depths of what's going
Right.
on. Like, I think, there's a lot of people that just think someone's cross-dressing, they're minding their business, good, leave them
Mhm,
alone. And then you have others who are just aggressively on the front lines and
mhm.
thinking that, this is the next civil rights movement. Um,
Yes.
but I think there's a lot more white people that are keeping up with this. Um,
Mhm.
Probably because they just have a little bit more free time, or the
Right.
privilege of just being so tapped into everything that's going on,
Mhm.
and and are able to read my posts, see my posts, and
Mhm.
see how I sort of present the facts, or just present what's going on, or open spaces for dialogue,
Right.
and just thank me for sharing content, thank me for
Mhm.
helping people stay up to what's going on.
Right.
And I think there's that aspect of it. I particularly think the face of gender ideology still remains mostly white, even though they scream about
Yes.
Black trans women. It's still mostly white men, and
Mhm.
I think
Yes.
people see that. Like, I
Mhm.
think people really see that. So to have a
Mhm.
Black woman speaking out and saying, "Let's ask some questions," or I
Exactly.
don't think this is okay. It makes them feel safe and comfortable to say, "Well, I didn't feel all that comfortable. I had some questions too, but I didn't know I was allowed to ask questions," because that's sort of the society
Mhm.
and culture that is now, that people are demonized for asking questions like, okay, I am a Black single mother. Like,
Mhm.
I try to demonize me. Like, who do you think I want to oppress? I don't want to oppress anybody.
No one, no one. And
No.
that speech you gave a couple of weeks ago, really, really powerful. Real,
Thank
I
you.
mean, that was just so powerful, and I was so proud to see you standing up there giving that speech. Thank you for doing it. It was real. I just want to tell you that because I may not get another opportunity.
People are meant to be together. Gender ideology separates us.
Um, do you have a website or other social media where people can view your work or reach you?
Yes. So my website is ajalyons.com. That's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
AJALYONS.com. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Great places to reach out and contact me. I welcome words of support or questions or all the things. Please don't send me anything hateful.
Unfortunately, there's always going to be someone that might do something like that because just know that if and when that happens, you've done something right.
Yes,
Do you have any last words that you would like to give to our audience?
I would just say to contact your local African American History Museum,
Mhm.
university departments. Unfortunately, so much of this movement really does erase and oppress Black women.
Yes.
Sports, so many scholarships, opportunities, visibility, places for uplift for Black women, and they're
Mhm.
now being edged out by white and Black men. Um,
Yes.
the whole this is really distorting so many aspects. Black lesbians, um,
Mhm.
primarily the main ones raising children for
Yes.
decades, larger numbers of same-sex parenting done by Black women couples.
Mhm.
Um, and so while I understand that people want to be kind,
Mhm.
kindness does not require divorcing from reality.
Hmm. Powerful. Wow. The best thing, the worst thing, I'll say the worst thing first that you can do to a person is encourage them in their lie. Let them believe lies. The biggest probably act of love is to tell them the truth in love. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's all we want to do. Well, A'Ja Lyons, thank you so much for joining us. Um, again, that speech you gave, powerful, and I'm going to keep sharing it, to as many people, especially Black people, as possible, because we have to know that this is impacting us too. This is impacting us too. If you would like to reach out to A'Ja Lyons, please click on the links below. And also, if you are so inclined to sign the declaration, please click on the link below. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.